smoking, vaping, or flash photography on board of any kind. This is a photo safari. Take as many pictures and videos as you'd like. Just make sure we keep our flash off, keep our cameras out and ready, and hold on tight. We're not able to stop for every animal or anything that falls from our trucks. As you get ready to head out into the reserve, if you're looking at taking pictures, you may want those cameras in action, sport, or motion setting.
Yeah, no.
With a higher shutter speed usually helps you get the
I don't hold it
out there.
outside of the wall.
It looks like we have the final clearance, so we're going to quietly cross over into the reserve, starting off with a little Aturi forest.
Bumpy road.
The military forest animals are especially shy and reclusive, many of them with a great natural camouflage. You'll notice a lot of these animals are hiding at the tops of the hills, behind bushes, to be less visible, but thankfully we still have ways to spot them. Off to your right, all the way towards the back, that's an okapi walking around. Beautiful zebra-like stripes on okapi's legs, but no relation to the zebra at all. The okapi is the closest living relative to the giraffe. Okapi and giraffe share similar skull structure, bone structure, body structure, ossicones on their head if the okapi's a male. You'll see he has ossicones on his head. They also share a long prehensile, or again that means finger-like, tongue shape. That means the okapi and their giraffe cousins use their tongues to grasp at branches to eat more easily, or lick their eyes, pick their noses, or even lick the insides of the ears to help keep them clean. Top of the hill ahead of us is a very large nest, so I'm hoping that means we'll spot some saddle-billed storks out here. Those birds stand about 5 feet tall with a 7.5 to 9 foot wingspan. They nest in pairs, very territorial, chasing the others off. On your left, you'll find a black rhinoceros. A very solitary and territorial animal. Stay seated, buddy. Stay seated. Fully seated on your bottom.
Where's the rhino?
The black rhino is a very solitary and territorial animal. We will see 1-2 tops. They have a pointed prehensile upper lip to eat off the trees and bushes more easily. They weigh 3,000 pounds. They run 35 miles an hour, and they are very nearsighted. They have a strong sense of hearing as well to help them get around. They're also crepuscular, as a lot of the animals we're looking for out here are. That just means most active in the early morning and late evening hours, resting through most of the day as well as overnight. Rhinos specifically wake up for food or to roll around in mud as needed. Mud protects from sunburn, takes other parasites, and helps to keep cool. Right hand side in the bushes, the light brown animals that look like deer are greater kudu. Copper colored animals at the top of the hill are bongos. Those greater kudu are females, they don't have any horns on their head. Females gather into groups of 3 to 10. Males, as soon as their horns go past the ears, very solitary. With bongos, both male and female bongos have long, heavy horns on their head. They're held back to run through dense brush quickly and quietly before being seen or heard. On the left, these two birds are saddle-billed storks. Their name comes from that yellow saddle-shaped shield. At the top of their beak, they rattle to communicate with each other as a non-vocalizing bird. When I say that, I mean that. No voice boxes, no vocal cords, nothing. And as mentioned earlier, they stand about 5 feet tall, so they are incredibly large birds.
It's a lot of moss.
As we head a little bit further into the forest, we're going to make our way down towards the Southie River Valley. You're going to want to keep your eyes still towards the water. We're looking for semi-aquatic animals, and sometimes they're a little hard to spot. Starting off on our right-hand side, on these 2 islands, that's a pod of pink-backed pelicans. They get their names for those pink patches of skin in between and under their wings that grow brighter during mating season. The wingspan is about 7 to 9 feet long, very similar to those storks we just saw. They like hanging around these quieter backwaters because it's easier for them to feed. They're not often alone. You might have even found some animals hanging out back there with them. A lot of you see them over here though. So on the left, those are Nile hippopotamuses.
Hippo. Oh, I see
They're a
him.
very social animal. They gather into a group called a bloat. They're also extremely territorial, chasing the others off. These hippos, much like the rhino we saw, are crepuscular. They mostly only come up on shores at night for food, and when they do, they move around up to 6 miles in search of food and eat about 100 pounds of food a night. They do sometimes sneak up on the shores during the day for a quick snack or a nap if the weather's nice enough, but most of their time is spent in the water to help keep cool and to regulate their body temperatures. They hold their breath underwater up to 8 minutes at a time, even while sleeping, and as the hippo sleeps, a portion of the brain stays active to tell them when it's time to bob up for air. Throughout the day, you'll tend to notice them migrating on over towards this waterfall, so there's a few of them hanging out over there. And if you keep looking down below on the left, those are now crocodiles. They are ectothermic animals, unable to make their own body heat to get their warmth from the sun and the ambient air temperature around them. Looks like they're starting to become more visible. Now crocodiles are one of the larger crocodile species. They average 16 feet long, they weigh 500 pounds, lift feet up to half their body weight when sitting before fasting drier. But all savannas across Africa have their challenges sourcing water, and many animals in large rely on plants to get their water they need to survive. Just as much as these animals rely on the plants to survive, these plants rely as much, if not more, on these animals for survival. Pretty much every animal found out here unknowingly works very hard with each other to make sure this fragile environment stays healthy. So for that reason, many of these species are what we call keystone species, and that means they have a positive but disproportionate impact on their environment. If they get taken away, their environment does not survive without them. Nobody can do their jobs quite like them. As we make our way down into the savannah, you're going to notice quite a few familiar faces around the outskirts. Thankfully, these roads are long and winding, so we'll just get over there as soon as we can. Now again, any of our kids can sit on our laps or beside us. We just need to make sure everybody stays seated the duration of our tour and in those same seats. As we keep cruising around out here, it looks like the first animals we're going to try to spot are coming up on our left-hand side. There's an area over here with a den, and that's home to some African painted dogs. We're going to see if we can try to spot them out here. As we look for them, they do look very similar to hyenas, but they're part of the canid family, not the hyenidae, so they're most closely related to our dogs at home. Looks like they're hanging out on our left, under the shade. African painted dogs, painted wolves, wild dogs, whatever your preference is named. They are very family-oriented dogs. They gather in packs of 5 to 15. They're so much like a family that if any other pack were sick or injured, everybody stays put until that pack member gets better. And because they're great team players, they use coordinated attacks to tire the prey to the brink of exhaustion rather than hunting alone. They have a hunting success rate averaging up to 95%. It's very impressive. Jumbo. On our left, without shouting at them, there are some giraffes over here. We don't want to startle them off. The giraffe is a very social animal. They gather into a group called a tower. I like to think that's fair. They stand 16 to 20 feet tall, fully grown. Giraffes are considered a keystone species because they prune the leaves off of and pollinate trees, but we're going to talk more about them in a little bit, because on our left, in the back, those are sable antelope. Similar to Harambe Wildlife Reserve, they're very resilient, fierce protectors, and unlike other antelope, if they're in a fight or flight situation, they take a fight every single time without fail, and they don't back down.
Damn.
And these cattle on our left, there's also some on our right. They are a woolly cattle, or you might have heard them called Watusi cattle. The Watusi tribe first domesticated them to date back 4,000 years. That was made up by pictographs found on ancient Egyptian walls. Looks like we might be crossing paths with a giraffe here. We're going to give them enough space to walk behind us and not directly into us. But there is another one coming too. We already established giraffes are very tall animals. They stand 16 to 20 feet tall, fully grown. When they're born between 5.5 and 6 feet tall. So it shouldn't be very surprising to know that giraffes love to eat. The giraffe will eat 20 to 22 hours a day. So to be fair, they're ruminants. They have 4 chambered stomachs to digest harsher plants than other animals can, just like the collie cattle. So a lot of the time is spent chewing their cud. But still, technically, giraffes eat 20 to 22 hours a day, so their tongues are dark purple in color to protect from sunburn. They're also 16 to 18 inches long and prehensile. They drool a lot. Very messy eaters, but they're also the world's largest pollinators. On our right, these are Hartman's mountain zebras. They're one of the more social species. They gather into a group called a dazzle. That's one of the fun names. The Hartman's mountain zebra is also the only species of zebra to have an extra fold of skin under their throat. We call that a dewlap. That's to help regulate their body temperature. This one we're passing by, and this one that just flopped down and rolled around in the sand. They were both born last summer, so not quite a year old yet. She is so cute. They're still foals. Each zebra has their own unique set of stripes. Those the little ones are born, they imprint their mom's stripes to quickly and easily identify their moms in the wild. On the right, the gray animals at the top of the hill, and at the bottom of the hill over here are wildebeests. They're one of the most densely populated animals on Earth after humans. They've been reported to gather into herds as large as 1.5 million. Wildebeest herds migrate 500 to 1,000 miles a year, following after rainstorms and such greener pastures to graze on. So to keep up the rest of the herd more easily, they run in under 15 minutes after being born.
The bad guy.
They killed Mufasa.
Dang, wildebeesters.
Giraffes are keystone species because they're really messy eaters, but up ahead of us there's a tree that's been knocked over, so we're hoping to find another keystone species out here, the African elephant. And the savanna can't survive without them because of the number of ways they shape their landscape. Knocking trees over to eat more easily, the branches, the bark, the fruit. Even helping these plants regrow. These soils don't hold many nutrients, but elephants don't digest things well, so they have extra nutrients in the soil and help fertilize any seeds they eat, giving their plants the best and oftentimes only fighting chance of replanting. The African elephant has the largest ears of any elephant species. They're loosely shaped like the continent of Africa, and flapping their ears drop their body temperature up to 15 degrees. It seems like he wants to show us his butt. But as we look at this big handsome fella, fastest way to tell he's a male is that he's hanging out by himself. Males prefer to be more solitary, hanging out by themselves. They're very small, loosely formed bachelor groups, while the females are much more social, gathering together in larger groups with their young. They're led by the matriarch, who's usually the oldest and wisest female. Male elephants are also larger, averaging 13,000 pounds, while the females are average 8,000 pounds. But no surprise he's eating. I guess it's technically brunch for him. Elephants eat 300 to 500 pounds of food a day. Sounds like a lot for us, but that's only 4 to 6% of their body weight. But it takes a lot of their time, so to make their eating more efficient, they grab onto their food using their trunks. An elephant's trunk is its nose and its upper lip combined, but it does a lot of their hard work out here for them. Like breathing, smelling, grabbing food and water, making noise, throwing dirt on their backs to protect from sunburn, scratching their eyes, poking their neighbors, whatever they need. For an elephant to move their trunk as needed, there are 40,000 muscles in there. That's about 66 times the amount of muscles in one of our bodies just in the elephant's nose alone. And on either side of the trunk, their ivory tusks are often great ways to identify individual elephants. That was the younger male of the reserve. But those are their overgrown inside their teeth. Elephants use their tusks for protection, or to poke holes inside of special trees called baobab trees to access clean water, or to scrape clay off the red clay pits like these that are right. They eat this red clay kind of like taking a vitamin. They don't get a wide enough range of vitamins and minerals from their 300-pound plant diet alone. You'll notice the tusk marks on your right. If we end up sandwiched between elephants and the red clay, we're not able to stop here. We don't want to scare them away from the red clay, so we're going to go slowly. This sweet pea right here, she is a teenager. Again, we can tell by her tusks. She's got little fangs for tusks. But those tusks on their face, while attached, will never stop growing. Elephants are born between 200 and 350 pounds, and they reach full size by the time they're teenagers. Also feels like a really great time to tell you elephants have a gestation period of 22 months, just shy of 2 years. As we make our way past the bamboo, we'll be able to stop these elephants out here. Okay, without shouting, down near the watering hole, you're going to find a little 1-year-old elephant. She's 1 year and 4 months old as of next week. Not that I've been keeping track every single day since December 13th of 2023, but it's been a long time coming. The 3 elephants, the one on the left, she is 8 for little size and age comparison. Elephants, they all have their own fun, unique personalities. So the 1-year-old throws a lot of tantrums, and the 8-year-old allows it and encourages it, in fact. So she'll also flop down on her side and throw a tantrum.
Oh no, we're gonna get wet.
When elephants are born, they don't have control over their trunks for the first 5 or so months of their lives, but as you see, she's browsing now. She's doing a great job. On our left is a flamboyant greater flamingo, so the largest and one of the later pink species. 30-day incubation period, then they hatch from their egg, a small gray bird. They grow to full size in about a year's time, however they don't fully turn pink until they reach 2 years old because they need to eat enough brine shrimp and other small crustaceans rich in a protein called beta-carotene to build up enough beta-carotene in their system to fully become that light pink color we all know and love. Sarah's getting one last glimpse of that elephant. She's so cute. As we cross over to the other side of the savanna, this side is flatter and it's drier. The grass is patchier. The mud up ahead looks very fresh, so I'm hoping we'll spot some rhinos. They were getting a little rowdy earlier, so they might have run off. Let's see. In the forest, we saw a black rhino who had a pointed prehensile upper lip to eat off of trees and bushes more easily. Makes sense living in a forest. Been in a flatter, drier area like this, we're on the lookout for white rhinos. Their name comes from a miscommunication of the Afrikaans word white. That translates to wide, and that's a reference to their broad, square-shaped jaws used for grazing on flatter lands. They can be anywhere on this side of the savannah, but they often return back to this mud wall to roll around in it since it shares all the same benefits as it does for their cousins. Sunburn, tick solid parasites, help keep cool. We're lucky enough to spot cheetahs over here, so I thought I'd give it a quick look. But cheetahs are daytime hunters. Thankfully for us, they chirp like birds, being excellent bird hunters. They're fast, they're not strong, they know that. So many animals their size are larger often scare them away. But they might be out on the prowl, so we're going to keep carrying on. Behind us is a copy, and many animals hang out on and around copies for the highest vantage point possible, predator and prey alike. Famously, they're home to lions. There's going to be a lion on our left, and there's rhinos up ahead of us that'll be on our right.
It's Simba.
Looks like the lions are actively watching the rhinos.
Simba.
We're going to put ourselves right in the middle of them if we can. These two rhinos on the hill are both about 3.5 years old for a little size and age comparison. On your left, those lions are 2. They'll reach full mature size by the time they're 5. During the day, lion eyesight very similar to ours as humans. At night, roughly 6 times better. They have white marks around their eyes to draw on the extra light at night. They're nighttime hunters. They're nocturnal. They don't sleep the entire time, but they rest 16 to 20 hours during the day to save up as much energy as possible for their nighttime hunt. With these white rhinos fully grown, these beauties weigh about 5,000 pounds, and they're one of the more social species. They gather into a group called a crash. I think that's fun. Just like their cousins, they run 35 miles an hour, limited eyesight, heightened sense of hearing as well to get around. They're crepuscular, but they can for food or to roll around in mud as needed. Lions aren't actively sleeping, they are resting. They're going to save up as much of their energy, so they're not likely to vocalize at us. But at top volume, you hear a lion roar up to 5 miles away. On our left, there are some warthogs.
Warthogs.
Warthogs are the largest burrowing animals. They have large tusks on their upper jaws and finger burrows, smaller, sharper tusks on their bottom.
You know the
jaws
A10 is named a warthog.
During the day, they don't mind sleeping on top of the burrows, but at night, they back up into the burrows, tusks facing outwards to protect from any potential predators. Those sweet little piggies will run up to 34 miles an hour.
Is that a turkey? Oh, ostrich.
As we sneak on past these rhinos here, you're going to notice some ostriches up ahead, so we're going to be cautious. They are a rather curious bird. These are specifically females. They have no points. They have light gray feathers rather than black and white tips. This is the world's largest and heaviest bird. They're flightless, and they run up to 45 miles an hour.
Big.
They flap their wings to stabilize and steer where they're going as they do such. If you take your eyes off of them for a second, on your right you're going to see ostrich eggs on the ground. Those eggs weigh 3 pounds each, 24 chicken eggs by weight comparison. They can hold 200 pounds of pressure before they crack, so when their 45-day incubation period is over, they need no patching. They're not strong enough to break free on their own. Crossing into the final section of the reserve, this area is called Magadi Glen. Water resources are plentiful. Perfect spot for the wardens and their Nigerian dwarf goats to set up posts. Nigerian dwarf goats are a smaller breed of goats, so they don't take up many resources, making for a great cohabitation. Our wardens will protect and feed these small goats. They'll provide those wardens a sweet, nutrient-dense milk.
Jeez.
It's high in protein, rich in fat content, very similar to buttermilk. That means it's easy to turn into cheese and give to the villagers, making them less reliant on wildlife. The milk can also be used for things like soaps, lotions, hand creams, face creams, even chapsticks. It's very moisturizing. They're a social animal. They're also playful to establish dominance, typically through headbutting. Being ruminants, eat the harsher undersides of the horns of the lawn, leaving the grass behind. They're also the cutest lawnmowers. As cute as those goats are to look at, they are so much better to pet. When we made our way around the reserve, you might have heard a train horn in the background. That was a Wildlife Express train. It's about a 5 to 7 minute train ride between Africa and Rafiki's Planet Watch. We're outside, they have the affection section. That's a petting zoo. You can pet Nigerian dwarf goats, pygmy goats, sheep, kuni pigs. Inside the animation experience, really cool free souvenir to take home. Disney animators teach you how to draw some of your favorite animal characters. You can learn more about different amphibians, reptiles, and insects inside. See what some of your favorite animal friends eat at the nutrition center. Rafiki and Simone take turns doing meet and greets. It's also home to 1 and 2 veterinary care suites at Walt Disney World properties, still in use today on an as-needed basis. It's as needed, so if you don't see anything around, talk to the cast member in the glass, see what they have in their schedule for the day. It is a really cool learning experience. One time I saw them do an operation on a bird, another time I saw them do an annual wellness checkup on a Western Lily from Brillo from next door. So you never know who you'll see them helping.
Ah, sheep.
As we make our way back to our village of Harambe, it looks like we're going to veer off to the left. So, Asante Sana, thank you so much for joining me out here. Extra special Asante Sana, as I have any Wilderness Explorers on board. You're riding on the Simba 1. That is SIMBA 1. You want to write that down on pages 14 and 15. You'll collect your badge just up the hill from the exit.